your weekly in-depth view of agriculture up close. This is In the Field. Presented by Gordon's Feed and Pet.
A staple here in the Ozarks, our Springfield Cardinals. Today, we're here to learn about the science behind this green grass. So Brock, you are Director of Field Operations here at the Springfield Cardinals, and you wear many hats, but let's take us back to the beginning. Who are you and what brought you and your interest level into this type of line of work?
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Lamar, Missouri, about an hour and a half from here. Grew up on the farm, raised beef cattle, crops, and helped my dad, day-to-day operations. So that's kind of where I got my background as far as, the farming, background. And a lot of people ask me how I mow straight and the patterns that we do and everything. And a lot of that goes back to
the hayfield.
The hayfield, driving the tractor on and I remember, you get kind of bored sitting out on the tractor all afternoon. So, I always had competitions in my mind, like how straight am I going? So
what led you from the farm to start your education in turf grass management?
Well, I love the game of baseball. Grew up playing baseball, from young age all the way up through high school. So I always played, summer ball and all like that, and really enjoyed it. Just like being outside. Love being out on the field. It was there.
It's pulling you.
Yeah, it was pulling me in.
Well, there's a lot of science behind growing grass. It's not as simple, just throw stuff out there and hope for the best. So how did you finesse the technique, and how did you, I'm sure there's a lot of on-the-job training, you're in season and out of season, so talk about that science behind managing this.
So we built the field in 2003. We had a Bermuda a turf, and then what we did is we had to overseed that every year to get to green up early in the spring. So what we did is we kind of went into it looking as far as what can we do to make it better. So what we did is about 5 years ago we actually transitioned from Bermuda to bluegrass.
So let's talk about the infield. We're talking about the soil that we're standing on. What are we seeing, and how do you prepare it for a game?
This is probably one of the biggest things that's really changed over the last probably 5-6 years is the infield mix. Ours is a high clay content, and so what we're looking at, especially after a baseball game, is I'm looking, when I'm just dragging the field after the game, is looking for like a cleat in and cleat out mark.
Okay.
With the spikes on the shoes. So if I see a big blowout or something like that, that's not what I'm looking for. So yeah, it's really advanced. And it's actually made my job a little easier. And
so how does this affect the play of the game?
Well, let's say probably 80 to 85% of the game is actually playing on the dirt. And so it's actually where I spend a lot of time at. We probably water the skin 4 to 5 times a day. We actually have sprinkler heads that we run at night to just kind of keep this moist.
It just keeps it moist and packed.
Yes.
There's daily upkeep to the field. So kind of talk through what you and your employees are doing in that day-to-day to maintain this field for the Bears and the Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, it does. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort on a daily basis, especially during a day game or a nightly game. We kind of start about 8:30 in the morning. So we come out, we'll prepare the mound and the home plate areas. We use a special packing clay. It's almost like a gumbo type material that we put in that to really pack it down. Once that's done, we start on the bullpens, kind of do the same techniques there. And then we usually start about 10:30 we start mowing. And we mow on a daily basis when there's a team in town playing. All this time we're checking like our moisture meters. We actually have 10 moisture meters in the field. So we're checking that for temperature and moisture within the turf itself, and we're just kind of keeping an eye on everything. We do a lot of aerifications when the team's out of town. We'll either core, which we're actually pulling plugs out of the turf, or we're slicing it, just trying to get moisture and air down into the root system.
Let's talk about how the field affects the play of the game. From the beginning of the season, when we're talking, baseball's a long season. You've got, the early spring to early fall. So how do you maintain that seasonality throughout?
We kind of, we try to actually start out the height of cut, maybe a little taller in the spring.
Okay.
Then we take it down during the summer, and then we'll kind of bring it back up in the springtime.
So, maybe thinking of young people or newly into different careers that might want to join this line of work, what advice would you give them, whether they're switching careers, new into it, studying in college, or just fascinated, interested in turfgrass management?
That's a good business to get into. It's long hours, but it's enjoyable. I mean, if you love the game of baseball, I mean, it's great. You get to watch a lot of baseball, but at the same time, I advise them just to get in and get their hands dirty. I mean, get after it. You're going to learn from your mistakes, kind of like I did when I was younger, but you learn from them, and you just kind of roll with the punches, really.